Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today we've got an interview with primary school teacher Katie Parker, who is a type 6. We did the interview on Zoom again due to the COVID-19 situation, but there shouldn't be any technical issues, and if there are, I should have edited them out. I hope you enjoy it, and here's the interview. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. You?
Yeah, good, thanks. Not much, just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, hardly off seeing the world.
Yeah. So how did you learn about the Enneagram?
Through you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd literally never heard of it. And then it would have been like 2 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
And we had all those like nights where we both had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And we did like with the tarot card readings and everything. And then you whacked out this massive Enneagram book.
And what did you, once sort of you found out more about your type and stuff, what was it that you kind of connect with about the Enneagram? Or
When we did that first test, that's the right word, I can't remember what I came out as that time, but I don't think it was the same.
No,
I think I came...
two?
Yeah, and I think that was more, I definitely could relate to that. It's like, look at, I've chosen to be a teacher, that's like giving most of yourself to something, and helping with everything, and you're constantly being busy. So now it's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The last time I came out as a 6, which I think now I relate to more.
Yeah.
I think if I'd come out as a 6 back then, I wouldn't have agreed with it as much.
Yeah, that makes sense. You wouldn't have necessarily like seen that, although you might have been more 6, you might not have recognized that in yourself.
Yeah, but I think that's to do with just being at very different stages in my life 2 years ago as to now. So now I can definitely see more of the kind of the loyalist in myself.
Yeah, that definitely makes
sense. The security, trust and safety, like striving for that.
Yeah.
Definitely relate to that. And just all the worrying, I think. I think that's a big one. Things I worry about everything.
Yeah.
Constantly. And then the other main one that's on here was the inner committee. And I think more than an inner committee, mine's like a real life committee. So for any sort of decision, there'll be people, and I think you're one of them, who will get a message like, so I'm thinking about doing this. What's everyone's opinions?
Yeah, I've had many a message like that.
Exactly. So like needing that reassurance and everything from other people that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think that's the thing, is that 2s and 6s, I think, do have those similarities in that they are there for people, and they are willing, the 6s are definitely willing to help people because they want to sort of show their loyalty and stuff, but it's sort of almost in a bit of a different way than the 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you sort of answered saying how you relate to the loyalist, but yeah, do you want to talk more about how you relate to that? And yeah,
I mean, it does say a lot about the 6s being reliable, and I think for me it depends on what you class as being reliable.
Yeah.
Because I like to think I'm a reliable person, but I suppose if it was urgently needing to be somewhere on time, I could not be relied upon for that.
Yeah.
But in that I'm always have my phone in my hand.
Yeah.
So in the sense that if someone needed something, I will always get back to them, and it will always be quick. I suppose in that sense, I'm reliable.
And I think it's sort of the wanting to be the sort of the person that people rely on as well, is sort of the desire to be that person for people. That's sort of when we were talking about kind of the social role of the kind of reliable one, is that in a group situation or in groups that the 6 is part of, they want to be relied upon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was thinking about this before. I think the idea of being the reliable one means that you're there and you're needed to be there because people are relying on you. So it's not like you're just sort of there and sitting on the sidelines. Like it's that, like we said before, that security and that stability of, well, if people rely on me, then like I'm here.
Yeah, and you sort of crave that stability and security.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. So the 6 is part of the thinking triad. So that's the 5, the 6, and the 7. And they're sort of, each triad has its sort of underlying emotion, the core emotion. And for the thinking triad, that's fear. So how do you relate to kind of fear and the feeling of fear in your life?
Well, I don't like it. But then I think I'm used to it. Like there's I've seen loads of stuff, obviously, with everything that's going on at the moment, saying like people that suffer with anxiety and everything are coping really well a lot of the time. And I think it's because I'm so used to feeling worried and scared of everything and thinking about all the like worst case scenarios that now it's actually happening. I'm like, oh, well, I'm preparing for this. So I think I'm very used to having some level of, I suppose fear is the word for, like, that covers all of it. I'm used to having that in my life and just dealing with it, but obviously not enjoying it.
Yeah. So for the 6, your wings are the 5 and the 7, the investigator and the enthusiast. So where do you feel like your sort of wings lie? Do you feel like you rely on them both? Do you feel like you rely on one more than the other? How do you relate to those?
I think in a lot of it, the 7, wing 7, I can relate to in eager to be liked and accepted, depend on loved ones for reassurance and advice, and getting into hobbies or distractions to avert from their anxieties. Look at the giant Winnie the Pooh cross stitch that I'm currently doing. If that doesn't tell you something, then
yeah, that definitely makes sense. The 7 wing counterpart is kind of a little bit more outgoing than the other counterpart, and kind of is a bit more like you say, will find distractions to kind of not process their anxiety necessarily and stuff. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely guilty of that. There's bits in the 7 wing that I don't relate to as much, like avoiding heavy topics. Like I love a DMC.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't say I avoid that unless I'm not in the right headspace.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then
willing to have them, but only when sort of on your terms almost.
Yeah, I think I know that if sometimes someone messages you wanting to talk about something and I just think, I can't handle that right now, and then that's where I'm more unreliable, in that I probably then just wouldn't reply for a bit until I feel able to sort of
kind of links in with the kind of worry that you sort of aren't able to have that conversation, almost like a worry of kind of you want to be the reliable person, so you don't want to message that person back when you're not in the right space to do so, because I see what you're saying. Moving on to the kind of lines of integration and disintegration. So for the 6, your disintegration goes towards the 3 and your integration goes towards the 9. So kind of how do you experience those? Yeah, so the integration, so into type 9, I'd say that's almost what I feel like that's more what I'm doing now, in just kind of relaxing and going with everything will be okay, because it kind of has to be, and staying calm and they're coming up with the solutions and stuff. I think that's partly living with someone who is very similar and very anxious, in that if he's having a particularly bad day, then I have to be the calm one. That makes sense. But then that flips as well. If I was having a particularly bad day, then he turns into the voice of reason more. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, and also the prone to daydreaming and lounging.
pretty much all I've done for the last 6 weeks, like interrupted for a few hours a day by the work I'm meant to be doing, but a lot of daydreaming and lounging.
We all have to have that sometimes, a bit of daydreaming.
Disintegrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a type 3. It's the stressed and looking for support by drawing attention to themselves by showing off and boasting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because if I think of showing off and boasting, you tend to think of someone being like almost like larger than life and everything. But I wouldn't necessarily say I go like that. But I can see myself kind of.
I think it's almost kind of connecting to sort of almost showing other people that you're so okay and you're so fine, without showing kind of the anxieties that are going on underneath, and kind of going, well, actually, I'm fine. Look at all this great stuff I've got going on.
Yeah, I think sort of overcompensating.
Yeah, almost that, yeah.
Because I think, like I say, showing off and boasting, you can view that in different ways, but I think what you're saying makes more sense. But I think that also then comes in with the other bit, which was like trying extremely hard to fit in.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying or doing things to show off. You're doing it to, I'll do it to kind of try and fit in. But then where I think I'm like, oh yeah, great, like I'm fitting in really well with them now, actually it comes across more.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Showing or boasting.
Yeah.
Will then be one of the things that later on I'll be like, oh God, why did I say that?
So it's sort of almost like that's not the intent. You're not trying to show off.
Yeah.
It's more that it accidentally comes across as that, with just you sort of trying to fit in with what else is going on because of insecurities or feeling not in the best way or something.
Yeah, I'd say so. And it definitely, I would say for me, is more in bigger social situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like small groups of people and people I'm really comfortable with, I don't feel it as much.
Yeah.
But when it's bigger groups, I'll find myself I'm just trying to think of examples, like trying to like think of things to say to be a part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's either that and I'll talk a lot, or I will just sit there and say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And then afterwards, after the kind of talking, that's another one that then later on I just think, all I did was just sit there and talk, like, which would have come across as very like self-absorbed and boasting, when that's not the intention.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Well, I don't know how far you got on deciding this, but what fictional character do you relate to the most, do you think?
Right. So I had a couple of ideas for different reasons, and I think the one that has stayed the same from the 2 years ago or whatever, when we probably first had this conversation, Chandler from Friends.
Yeah.
In that kind of trying to make jokes even when it's not necessarily the time.
Yeah.
And to kind of distract from that, I feel like crap. Let's just make a joke about it, and then that will all be fine.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you kind of relate to about Chandler in any sort of, like, is there any specific times that you're like, oh my God, that's me to a T?
It's quite an early episode, I think, Blackout.
Yeah.
And he, when he's like stuck in whatever they call it, the ATM vestibule or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's stuck in there with that model, and he manages to like completely embarrass himself, and then it just cuts to him and he's just stood there and he just goes like, why did I just do that? Like, I wish I was dead. Like, like obviously not meaning it, but it's that kind of, you say things or do things without necessarily thinking, and then afterwards you're like, oh, ridiculous.
And finally, is there like anything else that like you feel like you hear about the type 6, or that like you've learned about the Enneagram or anything that's either like a question or that like you would want to kind of express about a type 6 that maybe people misconstrue or something?
I think part of it is what we were just saying, like coming across as like boasting or whatever. That's not, it's not the intention. Like, I don't think highly enough of myself to boast about myself. Like, it is that it happens if I'm not feeling as good, and then obviously going back and thinking about it, and I'm like, oh no, like why did that happen? And there was something, I think it was something to do with like preparation and always being prepared. And for me, I was like, I'm one of the least prepared people that I know.
Yeah.
Like, looking at, less so now, I think I've got better, and I think where I'm at headspace wise is better than it was obviously when I was at uni or something.
Yeah.
With like getting work done and time management. But if I look back then, like, I was so unprepared. I'd literally wake up the morning an assignment was due in, work out how many words I needed to write an hour to get it done before the hand-in time, not having done any research to it, probably having missed the lecture that it was talking about. And then I'd get my result back for it, and I'd be like, oh, why? Why is it so bad?
Yeah. But was that sort of almost the reasoning behind the lack of preparation was potentially like your sort of anxieties about almost getting it wrong or something, or just...
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think I felt very out of my depth. And you know how I feel about uni. You know, I didn't have the best time.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I felt very out of my depth, and I was surrounded by people who, I did take it seriously, but who somehow managed to balance like having a really good social life with still getting pretty good results for all their assignments and stuff. And I just, if I cried 4 times in a day, then that was a good day. Like, I was that sort of...
You sort of felt like other people around you weren't out of their depth, like you were sort of experiencing. Yeah, but then the only time I didn't feel like that was when I was doing my placements and stuff. And that's because I think it's because I had then had a routine. Yeah. And I had like my order to follow, and I knew what I was doing, and I wasn't just sitting around all day. So yeah, you kind of had those trusted structures around you, and you had the security there in place to kind of give you the peace of mind that you could lean into your 9 and relax a bit more and just do what you needed to do, rather than create the structure and security for yourself as well as completing the work.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, I was very anxious about always getting things done. I remember once having like a really long extension because I didn't understand what it was asking me to do. Yeah. To the point of like going and sitting in student support. Yeah. Go and see them and like sitting there and crying and having a panic attack just because I didn't understand it. Yeah. And so I'd left it so late to start it because I didn't understand it. Yeah. Which then obviously made it worse because I was like, well, I can't go and ask someone now because they'll say, well, it's the week before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I distracted myself with Netflix.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me about the Enneagram and indulging my...
Anytime.
I'll speak to you soon.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the interview. If you want to see more from me, you can check me out on Instagram at Flynn Davies Enneagram, or email me at flynndaviesenneagram@gmail.com, or subscribe down below if you want to see more Enneagram related videos. If you want to see the other interviews I've done with a type 7, type 5 and type 3, check out the playlist, just linked just there. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.